Sit down, Daniel. You're embarrassing yourself. My brother's voice cracked across the dining room like a whip, and the laughter that followed from my cousins, uncles, even my own son's uneasy chuckle, clanged like beer bottles tossed into a trash can. I froze mid-reach, hand still hovering over the carving knife beside the turkey, and for a heartbeat I wasn't holding a blade, I was the blade, stripped bare, laid out on the table for everyone to see, sharp but useless. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 44 years old, from Dayton, Ohio, and I've worked every brutal shift life could throw at me just to keep standing. I've built myself out of sweat, scar tissue, and a stubborn refusal to quit. But here's the thing nobody in this room knows yet. I've got one secret left. A weapon sharper than any of them can imagine, and when the time comes, it'll cut deeper than they think. The laughter swelled again as my brother, Matthew 2 years younger, smug as always, slapped his hand down on the table like a gavel. His Rolex caught the Christmas lights, throwing little sparks across the cranberry sauce and the half-empty whiskey glasses. You really thought you were going to say grace this year? He sneered, looking at me the way you look at a stray mutt sniffing around your porch. What, you finally found God in between late mortgage payments? A few of them laughed harder. My cousin Brett muttered something about amen to foreclosure, and a ripple of chuckles went around the table. I glanced at my son, Ethan, 16, shoulders tight inside his new hoodie, eyes cast down like he was studying the mashed potatoes. He didn't defend me. He didn't look up. That stung worse than anything. It's strange, the way humiliation eats through you, it doesn't just wound, it hollows. You feel yourself becoming the echo of your own voice. In that moment, I remembered something my old man used to say when the factory foreman would chew him out in front of the crew. Public shame is heavier than steel, but it can be reforged if you've got fire in you. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my hands, but my brother wasn't done. He leaned forward, voice booming like he wanted the whole damn neighborhood to hear. Tell me, Danny boy, when's the last time you bought a Christmas gift that didn't come from a gas station counter? The table erupted. Even my Aunt Carol, sweet old Carol, who used to sneak me cookies as a kid, was covering her mouth, laughing like it was the best joke she'd heard all year. My wife, Laura, sat stiff at the far end, wine glass halfway to her lips, eyes darting between me and Matthew, like she was afraid to choose a side. She wanted me to laugh it off, I knew. She always wanted me to laugh it off. But laughter felt like a collar around my throat. That was when I noticed it. Sitting on the table between us, gleaming under the chandelier, was the old family gravy boat silver, slightly dented, passed down from our grandmother. Every holiday it sat there, carrying more than just sauce. It carried the weight of who we were supposed to be, tradition in metal form. And right then, staring at that gravy boat, I knew it would come back. It would matter. I set the carving knife down, slow, careful, like I was putting away a piece of myself. My voice came out lower than I intended, steady but sharp. Enjoy it, Matt. Enjoy the spotlight while it lasts. The words cut the laughter for a second, left a ripple of confusion. But then Matthew barked out another laugh, this one harsher, and raised his glass. To Danny, he announced. Our family's favorite punchline. And they cheered. They actually cheered. Inside me, something folded and something else unfolded. The folded part was pride, beaten small. The part that unfolded was colder, harder, patient. Revenge doesn't bloom in anger. It roots in silence, drinks from humiliation, waits for the right season to flower. I looked at Ethan again, his face pale, jaw clenched. He wouldn't meet my eyes, but I caught the twitch in his hand as he shoved his phone into his pocket, like he was ashamed of recording something he shouldn't have. My son, documenting my downfall. Or maybe holding on to proof. Either way, it planted another seed. Lavra finally broke the silence with a brittle smile, trying to change the subject, asking if anyone wanted more rolls. The chatter started again, lighter, but the taste in my mouth was ash. I forced myself to chew turkey, nod at small jokes, pretend like the air wasn't thick with mockery. Every second stretched, burned into me. And when Ethan excused himself from the table, muttering something about needing air, I knew I had lost something vital tonight. But I also knew I had something they didn't. Patience. The world loves a public fall, but it forgets that the fallen man is still alive, still moving in the shadows. Matthew raised his voice again, calling for a toast. He always had to control the room. To family, he said, smirking right at me, glass held high. Even the parts we're ashamed of. The cheer went up again, Glasses clinked, and I raised mine too. Though my hand was shaking, I wasn't toasting family. I was toasting memory. Every smirk, every jab, every laugh, they were bricks I was stacking for the fire that would come later. I caught Ethan watching from the doorway, his phone back in his hand, screen glowing faint against the hallway shadows. His eyes met mine just for a second. His face said what his mouth wouldn't. "Dad, do something." And I would. Before we get deeper into this story, make sure you're subscribed and tell us in the comments where in the world you're listening from. The gravy boat gleamed in the corner of my vision again, almost mocking me with its silent presence. It wasn't just carrying sauce, it was carrying my shame. But shame can be poured out just like gravy. Shame can be spilled and stains don't wash out easy. As Matthew leaned back in his chair, grinning like a king in his castle, I knew this wasn't the end of the night. It was only the opening act. Because the opening act always hides the real performance, and I had learned to live in waiting rooms, in loading docks, in the margins where people underestimate you until it's too late. The room buzzed with chatter as plates clattered, forks scraped, laughter rose in little bursts. My brother's voice kept slicing through it, sharp, commanding, like he was the conductor of an orchestra built entirely to mock me. Every story he told circled back to money, to success, to the deals he'd closed this year, the bonus he'd pulled down. He was building himself higher with every word, brick on brick, and the higher a man builds his tower of pride, the easier it is to spot the cracks. Laura kept sipping wine like it was her only shield. She never looked directly at me. Not once. If marriage is supposed to be a partnership, tonight felt like she'd already switched jerseys and joined the other team. I kept my silence, but silence isn't the same as surrender. Silence is the sharp inhale before the punch lands. Ethan slipped back into the room, eyes darting, fingers tapping against his phone. He sat down without a word, but his face was red, and I caught the faint reflection of a screen recording still running. That lit something inside me. Proof. Or at least the possibility of proof. You can't humiliate a man in the digital age without leaving fingerprints all over the scene. Screenshots are daggers now, and my son might have been holding the first blade without even knowing it. Matthew stood up suddenly, pushing his chair back with a screech. He held his glass high again. "Come on, everybody, let's do it properly this time, photo for the socials." He gestured for Laura to grab her phone. #Mercy Christmas, make sure we show off the feast. The family groaned, but everyone shuffled together, shoulder to shoulder, grinning for the camera. I didn't move at first. Then Matthew clapped me on the back, hard enough to rattle my teeth. "Danny, front and center. Gotta show the world you're still part of the clan, even if you can't keep up." The camera flash hit like lightning. A frozen moment, all of us locked in the frame. But what the picture didn't show was the truth. Matthew's hand gripping my shoulder too tight, his smile just a little too sharp, my eyes dark with something I couldn't hide. Photos lie, but videos don't, and I knew Ethan was recording again. As dessert came out, pumpkin pie, pecan pie, cookies that tasted like cardboard compared to the laughter, I slipped out to the back porch. The air was knife cold, my breath fogging in the dark. Christmas lights strung along the deck railing buzzed faintly, casting a tired glow. I leaned against the wood, feeling the rough grain bite my palms, and tried to gather myself. That's when I heard footsteps, Ethan. He stood beside me, silent, before finally speaking. "Dad, you don't deserve this." His voice cracked like mine had earlier. I turned, studying his face. 16 going on 25, caught between boy and man, trying to figure out who to believe in. And right now, he didn't believe in me. "Not yet. What did you get?" I asked quietly, nodding at his phone. He hesitated, then handed it over. On the screen, Matthew's toast replayed, clear as day, his words dripping venom. To Danny, our family's favorite punchline. The room's laughter roared behind him, immortalized in pixels. Ethan had captured it all, even the way my jaw tightened, the way my eyes flicked toward him. I handed the phone back, careful not to show too much. Inside, though, a slow burn started spreading. Evidence. Leverage. In the age of digital echo, shame doesn't stay in one room. It travels, multiplies, becomes unstoppable. "Keep it safe," I said. "Don't share it yet. Timing matters." Ethan nodded, a flicker of something trust, maybe passing between us. When we went back inside, Matthew was already bragging about a new condo he was buying in Florida. He spread the paperwork across the table like a magician showing off a trick. Everyone leaned in, oohing and eyeing, as if he'd just discovered fire. I watched carefully. Contracts, I thought. He was careless with them, tossing pages around like confetti. That's the thing about men like him, they don't read the fine print because they think the world's already signed in their favor. I sat back, hands folded, watching, waiting. Carol leaned over to me at one point, whispering with a hint of pity. "Don't let him get to you, Danny. He's always been like this." But pity is another kind of humiliation, just dressed softer. I forced a smile and said nothing. Another toast. Another round of drinks. My wife laughing at a joke I didn't hear. And Matthew, louder with every sip, enjoying the throne he thought he'd earned. The man didn't realize he was already weaving his own noose. Pride is a balloon beautiful, floating, untouchable, until one pinprick ends it. I kept my eyes on the gravy boat. It hadn't moved all night, heavy and gleaming, filled now with cold, thickened sauce. It felt like it was staring back at me, daring me to remember what humiliation tastes like when it curdles. I imagined it tipping, spilling across Matthew's pristine contract, staining every word he'd thrown in our faces. The image stuck, burned into me like a prophecy. When the night wound down, coats went on, cars started pulling out of the driveway, and Matthew gave me one last parting shot. He hugged me in front of everyone, clapping me on the back again, murmuring just loud enough for me to hear, "Face it, Danny, you'll always be in my shadow." I didn't answer. I just smiled, the kind of smile you give a man who doesn't realize he's standing on thin ice. As his taillights disappeared into the night, I stood in the doorway with Ethan beside me, the cold wind rushing in. I didn't say anything, but Ethan finally whispered, "What are you gonna do?" I didn't answer him either. Because words are wasted before the storm, because storms don't announce themselves. They gather quietly, shaping in the silence while everyone else is too busy admiring the calm. In the days that followed, Christmas faded, but the humiliation didn't. It clung to me like smoke after a house fire. Lavra barely spoke to me except in clipped phrases about bills or chores. Ethan kept his distance too, but not out of shame, out of waiting. He was watching me, studying me like he wanted to know if I'd rise or sink. That silent expectation hurt more than words ever could. Work at the distribution warehouse dragged on, long shifts, freezing loading docks, supervisors barking about quotas. I kept my head down, but inside my brother's voice played on repeat. Favorite punchline. It rang in my skull while forklifts beeped and pallets slammed. The humiliation had fused into rhythm, into muscle memory. But every rhythm can be broken by one well-placed strike. Late one night, Ethan came into the garage while I was tinkering with the old truck. He handed me his phone, screen unlocked. "I saved copies," he said. "Different folders, Cloud 2. In case he deletes it." On the screen was Matthew's toast again, looped like a wound that refused to close. My brother's grin, the laughter, my face locked in stone. Proof, evidence, ammunition. "You don't have to use it," Ethan added softly, like he wasn't sure if revenge was holy or poison. I wiped my hands on a rag, stared at him. "Sometimes, son, a man doesn't get to choose. Sometimes the choice is made for him the moment another man spits on his pride." He nodded, swallowing hard. The plan began without me writing anything down. I started small, asking casual questions in family group texts, pretending to show interest in Matthew's condo project. He bragged freely, sending screenshots of the contract, floor plans, payment schedule. Careless, always careless. I screenshotted everything, storing them in a folder Ethan had already labeled insurance. Lavra noticed my late nights, the way I scrolled on my phone with a strange intensity, but she didn't ask. Maybe she didn't want to know. Maybe she was afraid of the answer. By New Year's Eve, Matthew was boasting again, this time about a big New Year's party he was throwing at his condo in progress, just to christen the place before the drywall's even up. He sent the invite in the group chat with fireworks emojis, telling everyone to bring champagne and post plenty of pictures. I typed back a simple thumbs up. But in my chest, something darker clicked into place. The night of the party, the building smelled of sawdust and new beginnings. Temporary lights hung from wires, casting harsh yellow pools across unfinished walls. People milled about in fancy coats, laughing, drinking, clinking glasses. Matthew, of course, was center stage, playing host, wearing a jacket too shiny for a man his age. He spotted me and immediately grinned. "Danny, didn't think you'd show." Thought maybe you were still licking your Christmas wounds. His voice carried, people chuckling around him. Another cut, another scar. But scars make a man fireproof. I smiled back, but my eyes drifted to the table by the makeshift bar. There it was, the gravy boat. He'd brought it, like a trophy, like he wanted to keep rubbing my face in it. He'd filled it with punch, of all things, the crimson liquid glistening under the light. The sight made my jaw tighten. That boat wasn't tradition anymore, it was mockery. I moved through the party quietly, gathering threads. I overheard Matthew telling someone the condo deal was almost finalized, just waiting on one more inspection. He waved around a folder, papers sticking out. As good as mine, he said, puffing his chest. Later, when he got distracted entertaining guests, I slipped close enough to glimpse the top sheet. It was a purchase agreement and signed by the seller. A detail. A technicality. But technicalities are where prideful men bleed out. I stepped back, letting the music and chatter swallow me. My heart hammered, but not from fear. From clarity. Revenge isn't a hammer. It's a scalpel. You don't smash a man like Matthew, you slice him where he doesn't notice until it's too late. Midnight approached, and people began gathering around the makeshift bar, glasses raised, champagne fizzing. Matthew clinked his glass with a spoon, calling for attention. To the new year, he boomed, and to building bigger, better, richer. He gestured toward me with a smirk. Maybe even Danny here will finally catch up. The laughter came again, softer but still cutting. And right then I saw Ethan, phone raised slightly, recording. His eyes locked on mine, silent approval. I raised my own glass. To family, I said evenly, and to remembering that paper doesn't mean a thing until ink seals the deal. A few heads turned, confused. Matthew blinked, caught off guard for a second. Then he laughed it off, waving me away. Always the cynic. But I saw the flicker in his eyes, a crack in the balloon. As the countdown hit, everyone shouted, cheered, kissed, the room exploding in noise. I watched Matthew drink from the gravy boat like a chalice, red punch spilling down his chin. He thought he was untouchable, drenched in tradition and arrogance. He didn't realize tradition can drown a man just as easy. And in that moment, watching him, I knew the trap was set. Not finished, not sprung, but set. When Ethan and I stepped out into the freezing night, fireworks exploding over the half-built skyline, he asked again, "So what now?" I pulled my coat tighter, staring at the smoke trails across the sky. Now we wait for him to trip over his own pride. And when he does, we'll be ready. Because waiting is the hardest part, the patience sharpens the blade. January dragged on, bleak and gray, the kind of Ohio winter that gnaws into your bones. At work, I stacked pallets, scanned boxes, nodded at foremen, but inside, I was replaying every detail of Matthew's arrogance. The toast, the contract, the gravy boat dripping red punch. Each memory was a stitch in a net I was tightening around him. Ethan kept feeding me updates, screenshots from social media where Matthew bragged about his new condo, videos he posted of himself giving virtual tours of half-finished rooms. Every post carried the same lie, that he already owned it. My son, careful now, archived everything, like a soldier stocking ammunition. Then it happened. Early February, Matthew blasted the family group chat with a photo of himself holding a welcome home sign in front of the unfinished condo. He tagged it, officially mine. But I'd seen the contract. I knew the inspection hadn't cleared. And I knew because I'd checked public records that no deed had been filed yet. He wasn't owner, he was squatter. And he'd just documented it online for everyone to see. The opening. That weekend, Laura tried to talk me out of whatever she thought I was planning. "Just let it go, Danny," she said, her voice brittle, tired. "Your brother's always been like this. Fighting him only makes you look smaller." I stared at her across the kitchen table, the cheap light flickering above us. Looking small isn't the same as being small. She didn't answer. Maybe she couldn't. I didn't tell her what came next. Some roads you walk alone. The next family gathering came in March, Ethan's birthday. Matthew showed up late, of course, strutting into the diner we'd rented like he owned the place, a paper bag in his hand. He dropped it on the table with a grin. Out came the silver gravy boat, polished to a shine, filled this time with bourbon punch. He set it in the center like a crown jewel. The room laughed, clapped, poured themselves cups. To them, it was tradition now, Matthew's inside joke, a ritual of my humiliation, but to me, it was prophecy circling back. When the cake was served and the singing died down, I stood up. "I'd like to give a toast," I said. My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't tremble. Silence fell, every eye on me. Matthew leaned back, smirking. "This should be good." I nodded to Ethan. He tapped his phone and the TV in the dinerman for ball games lit up with a video. The Christmas toast played in full, Matthew's voice loud and cruel, the laughter echoing, my face stone still. Gasps rippled around the room. Then the New Year's clip rolled him drinking from the gravy boat, declaring himself richer, better, untouchable. Finally, screenshots of his condo posts flashed across the screen, each one time-stamped, tagged, proof of his lies. "Funny thing about contracts," I said evenly, my voice carrying through the stunned silence. "Posting pictures of yourself as the owner of a property you don't legally own? That's fraud." "That's evidence." Matthew shot up, red-faced. "Turn that off. This is bullshit." But Ethan held the phone steady, the video looping. "You made me the family's punchline," I continued. "But the internet doesn't laugh with you, it laughs at you. It laughs at you. And the law doesn't laugh at all." I reached into my pocket, pulled out a folded paper, and laid it on the table beside the gleaming gravy boat. A printout of the county record. Blank under deed owner. Gasps again. My Aunt Carol muttered a prayer. Laura's hand flew to her mouth. Matthew stammered, It's in process." "Not according to the clerk I called this morning," I cut him off. "And when your bank sees these posts, when your lender finds out you've been lying about occupancy, that deal you brag about is going to bleed out on the floor." The room erupted, shocked voices, whispers, shifting chairs. Matthew lunged for the phone, but Ethan stepped back, holding it high. My son's face burned with something new, not shame. Matthew's hand slammed down on the gravy boat instead, bourbon sloshing out across the table, soaking napkins, dripping onto the contract printout. The symbolism struck like lightning, tradition spilling, staining, destroying. The boat that once carried family pride now carried his downfall. Some objects don't change, they reveal. "Get out," I said quietly, but the weight in my voice made the room freeze. "Get out before I send this to every lender, every client, every news site that feeds on men like you." For the first time in my life, my brother looked small. His lips trembled, his eyes darted, the room pressing in on him. He tried to speak, but no one was listening anymore. Even his allies, Brett, Carol, the cousins, looked away. He grabbed the gravy boat, bourbon spilling onto his shirt, and stormed out, the door slamming behind him. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of release, of reckoning, of something heavier than victory. Ethan lowered his phone slowly, looking at me like he'd never seen me before. Laura sat frozen, wine glass untouched, her eyes unreadable. I sat back down, exhaling for the first time in months. The taste in my mouth wasn't sweet, it was metallic, bitter. Revenge never tastes like dessert. It tastes like survival. But Ethan leaned close and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Dad." That made it worth it. Some men build towers to look taller, others dig graves to bury their pride. Either way, the ground always takes them back. We cut the cake. The party limped on, quieter now, but something had shifted. The room no longer laughed at me. And though Matthew was gone, his absence was louder than his presence had ever been. Later that night, as I stood outside the diner smoking a cigarette I shouldn't have lit Ethan beside me, I thought about my father's words. Public shame is heavier than steel, but it can be reforged if you've got fire in you. I had fire, still did. Burned hotter now, though it left scars I'd carry forever. Matthew's empire would unravel, contracts canceled, deals withdrawn, reputation shredded by his own posts. I didn't need to strike again. The world would do it for me. And as I flicked the cigarette into the dark, I whispered to myself, in America, pride is the rope and proof is the knot. Tie them together, and a man hangs himself. If this story resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It helps us share more true stories like this.